Wait. I wanna ask a question. Are you hype about Ghost of Tsushima finally launching for PC? Let's dive into this massive open world samurai epic, explore the reasons behind its explosive success on Steam, and take a look at the development process that brought this masterpiece to PC gamers everywhere. This is gonna be long, but info-packed video, so grab your favorite snacks and drinks, sit back, and get ready to conquer Tsushima. But before we jump in, let me just establish something. I'm a huge sucker for samurai games, and Ghost of Tsushima is no exception. Many great games have been released under the jurisdiction of PlayStation. Among them, which one do you think is the game that you think is good that we did this? That we made this game alive? I mean, when you look at the winning side, which one has made a bigger impact? If you ask me, I would say God of War, Last of Us. I think these are the first ones that came to my mind. Maybe Uncharted? It could be. These are the games we see as top-tier games on PlayStation. Helldivers 2 made a nice surprise. It was probably a very profitable game, but of course it's on the online side. It stands at a different point from God of War and Last of Us. When you look at the story games, which one could be the most profitable operation on PlayStation? I wouldn't say Ghost of Tsushima. I would never have thought of this. I wouldn't say it because it shocked me when I look at the numbers. Today, if we could really ask this question to a PlayStation official about any of your most profitable games, we wouldn't have a chance to ask. If we ask, he wouldn't say in a way. But I'm sure we can force Ghost of Tsushima to the top. Because Ghost of Tsushima has a very strange situation. Because the cost of the game is very low. Normally when PlayStation will make their own special game, such a big game with a story, the money they spend is close to $200 million. Today, the cost of the big budget games we call AAA has started to increase. 5 or 6 years ago, they couldn't make less than $100 million. Costs are increasing day by day. We know that Sony has spent close to $220 million to make Horizon Forbidden West. They spent close to $200 million on God of War in the 2018 version. They spend on Last of Us, they spend on God of War's new game, so Sony spent a lot of money on the big games. Even $100 million were spent on Horizon Zero Dawn, which was released in 2017. I'm talking about the game from years ago. But Ghost of Tsushima, in terms of a sale, almost got a number at the level of God of War and Last of Us. They said that it was close to 10 million sales in 2022, and it is much more than that now. It is a very high number in the serious field, and do you know its budget? $60 million. Yes, this Ghost of Tsushima looks great and very stylish and looks very aesthetic. The production cost of this game is $60 million. Some sources say 80, some say 60, but it's generally accepted as 60. Let it be 80, it doesn't matter. Where is $200 million? Where is 60 or $80 million? If you count it as 60, it is a little more than a quarter of it was made, and it brought an incredible income. Let me tell you more about the epic part. Ghost of Tsushima was released on PC recently. By the way, they have optimized the game wonderfully. We will also talk about the PC details and such an amazing visuality. You won't see very high quality when you look closely at the covers, but the stage integrity, that aesthetic and visual art is so good. You can take each frame and turn it to your desktop wallpaper. The game looks great on PC, and the PC release of the game set a record for Sony. Why? Because Ghost of Tsushima has become Sony's #1 PC game among story games as the release date. It instantly reached 78,000 players on PC, and this number is higher than God of War's 2018 version and higher than Spider-Man. If you look at the online side, there is a Helldivers 2. It's impossible to reach the number of Helldivers 2, but among the story games, Sony's #1 brand is neither God of War nor Last of Us Part 1 or anything else, it's Ghost of Tsushima. Recently, Horizon Forbidden West was released, which Sony spent a lot of money on this game. When it came out, the Steam sales of the game remained at 300,000 or 400,000, while Ghost of Tsushima has already exceeded 500,000. It even shows 700,000 in terms of sales, so it is obvious that it will reach 1 million sales in a short time. And doing all this success with the cost of $60 million is already a job that every company is jealous of. Right now, the biggest problem in the game industry is the increase in game production costs. Especially in AAA, if you're making a big game, the costs can grow like crazy. But Sony didn't want to go under such a cost for the Ghost of Tsushima. So they gave a partial budget to the developer company, but the result that came out exceeded everyone's expectations. I'm glad for the developer company because the Sucker Punch is a company that has been chasing this for years. When you look at the history of Sucker Punch, this is a company that has been making games since 1999, but they actually started their business in 2002. In 2002, they started a partnership with Sony and started the Sly Cooper series. The Sly Cooper is actually a popular series at that time, but you don't put it in a top 10 game. If you count PlayStation 2, the Sly Cooper wouldn't be the first one. There's another platform action game that came out at that time, for example, Ratchet & Clank. It becomes a much more popular series. Sly Cooper is a bit more underdog, but it is one of the good numbered games. Sony is satisfied with the number of sales, then Sony says, make another one. They make a game called Sly 2 again, and Sony also satisfied. Then they make Sly 3 and they finish the series there. Then another company tries to continue, but they couldn't do it either. So the Sly Cooper series is dying and go away. After making Sly 3 in 2005, Sucker Punch says that we can go to a certain place with the series. We have come to the PlayStation 3 era. We want to do something else. Sony should be satisfied with this Sucker Punch performance. I mean, they don't see it as a big company. Normally when I look inside Sony, Santa Monica and Naughty Dog may be the #1 company. These two may be sharing the first place. The company that made God of War is Santa Monica, and the company that made Last of Us is Naughty Dog. In 2005 or 6, while Santa Monica was the hype company, what was Naughty Dog doing back then? They were doing it in Jak series. For example, the Jak series is a more popular series than Sly Cooper for most people. It's a breakthrough for 2005. Because PlayStation will be released, they want to prepare special, beautiful looking games for PlayStation. Naughty Dog breaks his way here with Uncharted and starts preparing his first Uncharted game. Sucker Punch wants to make an open-world action game and release a game called Infamous. We use a special power character in Infamous. In the open world, we have a game structure in which we make relationships between goodness and evil that we catch enemies in our electrical powers. It's not a bad game for Infamous, but since it's a game that's been developed for a long time, it's not a very profitable operation for Sony. Look, if I have to give a fair example, Naughty Dog, a company that can be considered a fair opponent of Sucker Punch, makes its first game of Uncharted in 2 years. And after 2 years, it makes Uncharted 2. In this period, Sucker Punch can produce Infamous within 4 years. Of course, Infamous can be considered a wider game than Uncharted, and the budget for Infamous and the Uncharted are the same. But in the end, they work for 4 years for Infamous, and it's a long-standing period to develop the game for 4 years at that time. Then again, it is not very unpleasant from the sales of Infamous. It wants to continue the game and Infamous 2 comes out. Infamous 2 is also a pretty good game, but you understand the problem, right? Sucker Punch can't do the hated ones. They can produce the epic game they want, the game that comes to mind when you say PlayStation. But it's getting so close to it. It keeps coming back from the bottom. Infamous 2 comes out, people get excited, but what if another game comes out, like Red Dead Redemption? A big hit comes out and everyone talks about it. Of course, Red Dead Redemption is not a special PlayStation game, but it is a game that comes out on the PlayStation console and everyone plays it and plays it with love. At the same time, Uncharted 3 is also coming out. By the way, Infamous 2 is also coming out with Uncharted at the same time. But Uncharted 3 becomes a more popular game than Infamous 2. I can catch the effect Sucker Punch wants, but they don't give up. They want to prepare something for the PlayStation 4 release, and they are developing the new generation of Infamous Second Son. I think this game is a game that looks great even today in terms of technical. Really, open the game, look, it's been 10 years and you can say this game is 10 years old. It's a game that you can use different powers in open worlds. It's a very enjoyable game with some sense, but if you ask me, is it came to a big classic game? No, it didn't come. In fact, I think many PS4 owners miss this game. The reason for this is that the PlayStation 4 was released in the early period, so not many people played the game because they didn't buy consoles. The second reason why the game is not played much is that it doesn't have such a high quality structure. Look, I'm not saying it's bad structure, But what we're talking about is the God of War, Uncharted, Last of Us, etc. It's not at that level. They're making a game that's a little below it. After 2014, after releasing Infamous Second Son, Sucker Punch is thinking, what should we do? What's on their minds is to make an open world game again, but this time they want to make an open world game focused on close combat. They dream of a close combat game that will be very close to the sword. Of course, they think of a theme. Which theme should we do? And first they came up with the theme of a pirate game. I wish you could do it. If the pirate game came from you, I would have played it with pleasure. Then they go to such Scottish tales or something, so that there would be a story from there or something. And then they go to a different style and create a steampunk universe. That is, they create a universe similar to Dishonored universe and start developing a game called Prophecy Code. They've been working on it for about 2 years. They're doing an example demo. They're making a playable version. And there is even an image of this leaking. You can see it on the screen right now. It looks like a pretty solid game, doesn't it? It's a game that contains parkour elements, that contains secrecy, that carries the atmosphere of Assassin's Creed. However, later on, they give up on this game because of the reason we don't know. They say, we have to go to something different. They thought it was very similar to Assassin's Creed, and it would be close to the Infamous series, so I don't know what they thought. But all of a sudden, they come to their senses and decided to make a game that goes back to the feudal Japan period. And the Ghost of Tsushima we see on the screen now comes out as a result of this idea. Again, as they said, they're making a console combat-oriented game. I think Ghost of Tsushima is a game that is truly unique and has its own action system when it comes to close combat. When we first saw the game, we thought it would be a simple combat because it was very similar to Assassin's Creed. You remember Assassin's Creed previous game. You do counter, you attack, and it's over. However, I saw that they made a game that was not so simple and made a game with different positions. They made a game that you had to play in a certain way against certain enemy types. I appreciate it, but for me, it is still not a game at the level of God of War or Last of Us, but it is a little below them. I think it's much better game than Horizon. It was a structure that attracted my attention both in terms of world cinema and the way it was played. But of course, when I was playing, I didn't know the details until the budget of the game. It turned out that when people buy a game for $60, they don't look at how much money it is made. How much money do we pay for the game when we buy the game? And what do we get in return? We look at this. So if you sell the game for $60, I think I can evaluate it at the same level as God of War and Last of Us. But now when you look at the backside, when you look at it from Sony's side, the fact that the effect created by the game is so great surprised them a little. They are like Infamous again. They assume that a game that people would like and appreciate but wouldn't be sold so much would be made. But this time, the situation wasn't like that. Yes, Ghost of Tsushima may not be seen at the God of War level, but in terms of sales, in terms of what they earn, it was great success in terms of costs. That's why I say, if you go to Sony and ask today which of your games left the most profitable operation for you, I'm leaving the online sites aside or something, because they always earn money, but they will definitely count Ghost of Tsushima in single games. It's incredible that a game made for 200 million and a game made for 60 million boom. Look, today it's said that the money spent for Hellblade 2 of Microsoft is between 50 or 60 million dollars. As a result, it seems that the game couldn't leave a tenth of Ghost of Tsushima. Of course, it tries to focus on cinematic experience in the same board game, but it was a matter of criticism that it was very limited in terms of gameplay, that it offered a very short game time, and that it was sold for $50 despite this. Of course, you can play the game from Game Pass, but the price for the game is $50. After all, is it a reason for criticism? Yes, it may be. Ghost of Tsushima may not have been made with such a limited opportunity as Hellblade 2, but it is clear that it was not made with a wide opportunity. The question I'm now wondering about is that Sucker Punch is almost certain that they will make Ghost of Tsushima 2 for the next game, so there are a lot of rumors. We know that the developers company likes to make continuous games, so whatever they do, they made 3-part. They made 3-part from the Sly game, they made 3 from Infamous, they can also make 3 from Ghost of Tsushima. Maybe it won't be Ghost of Tsushima, but Ghost of will be something else. It will be another game that goes through another period of feudal Japan. By the way, I thought I wouldn't play the PC version of the game from beginning to the end, but after a few hours I'm playing everything from the beginning as if I was playing a full series. But I know that I had a problem when I first played Ghost of Tsushima. After half of the game, it seemed to me that the game was decreasing. The main reason for this is that while you can fully develop the character of the game in first half, you constantly develop characters, you get a new feature, you get a new thing, you see a new thing, etc. After the second half, there was nothing left to improve the character, because I did everything in the game and the game is enough. The story side of the game doesn't present such a great story, instead it tries to entrain you in different story parts. Of course, this is a subject that can be shown in numbers, but I would like it to be such a strong, powerful, really full-fledged main story. In terms of cinematic, in terms of the theater setup, in terms of giving the story, it is far below God of War and The Last of Us. You can actually understand directly from there that there is no budget. You look at The Last of Us, there is such a great player performance, right? You look at the God of War, you can count Kratos awesome with Atreus mimics, etc. Then you look at the Ghost of Tsushima, there is a such more superficial narrative. Why? Because that mimic has no budget. But if you put these kinds of directions aside, if you put the repetition of some things in the open world aside, this is a magical game in the sense of sight. This is a game that can teach you this. How can you create a game visual without having quality covers, without having excellent quality details? One of the #1 examples game. You are constantly enchanted like this. You are enchanted by colors, you are enchanted by the calmness of wind. The game can always find something to enchant you. By the way, the production team said that it was quite difficult for them to switch to this kind of visual, because they usually play a game in the city in Infamous, even though this is a different game from Prophecy. It is a game in the city after all. On the one hand, going out to open areas from this city view made the construction process quite difficult for them, so it took longer than they expected. But in terms of visual results, they took it very clearly. Of course, the biggest advantage of the game is the action. There is a very sharp feeling of action in the game. It's one of the games that makes you feel the use of the sword at the top level. If we make a list of samurai games today, the most memorable ones are Sekiro 1. But it is an action-adventure game. It's not a game where you do things in a very open world. Recently, and Rise of Ronin came out, when you play Ghost of Tsushima on Rise of Ronin, you realize that Ghost of Tsushima is a much better quality game. Rise of Ronin may be a more exciting game in terms of combat or a more sharp combat, but technically, Rise of Ronin remains such a raw game that feeling in the game will not pass on everyone. Ghost of Tsushima, on the other hand, can be an open-world samurai game that adorns people with all its elements. So if you have a samurai fantasy, if you want to build a samurai in open world, I think Ghost of Tsushima is a better alternative than the others. Anyway, I think it was a success on the PC because it was so little in its own way. Apparently, the PC users found the theme of Ghost of Tsushima much more attractive than Horizon, which is why there was such a great difference in terms of sales. Of course, it was released on PC a while ago, but after it was released on PC, some of the PlayStation players, I assume there is a small minority, they were in a lot of riots. They went to the Steam page of the game and said, "You ruined my life. Are you happy? Millions of people who invested in the console have ended their lives." There is a group that is in a riot like this. And look this one, the stupid PC port. PlayStation 5 will be always the best platform to play Ghost of Tsushima. Bro, what are you living in yourself? What is this? I didn't understand. Since console fans have been around for a while, they managed to decrease it a bit. Limates are not that hard. You can already see the Xbox side, so it even brings its own games to the PlayStation. After PlayStation start to bring its own exclusive to the PC, I guess this console fan base will decrease as it goes on. But still, some users didn't fully adapt to this situation. Of course, I don't know if there is a group that gives up taking PlayStation 5 because of PlayStation games coming to the PC. Even if there is, it should stick to its status on the PlayStation side. As players, we are looking to enjoy the game we are playing. Or did it come out of there? Did it come out of the PC? Did it come to the PlayStation? These are not our problems. People who have a sense of the problem don't worry so much. It seems a little funny to show that there is no war and try to be on its side. If there was a war, the PlayStation would fight itself somewhere, but it's not such a situation. I'm sure the team that does it gives extra motivation to be attracted by more people. Ghost of Tsushima, for example, is a game that came out 4 years ago, right? But what happened now? It broke the PC record. Everyone talks about the game very positively. The developer must have been motivated again. They must have come to their senses again. They are working on an extra motivation for the new game right now. I'm going to very trouble looking at the graphics of Ghost of Tsushima from the perspective of the sense, and I'm relaxing. Alright everyone, that's all the time we have for Ghost of Tsushima's PC conquest. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments what other samurai games you'd love to see on PC. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more awesome gaming content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you for watching my video. Peace out.